We're all good.
Are we ready to rock?
We're ready.
Proper title. I have a history of detitling Jean and giving her the wrong label. So rather than do that again.
When did that happen?
When I was much younger. So she was
You
the
demoted me.
I demoted. She was my boss, by the way.
Wait,
So
are you serious?
Yeah, she was the vice president of product management globally for Bally.
Oh, for Bally.
And I worked, I think it was like an associate manager. Like I was as low as you go. She was the top. And so I was introducing her, actually, I think to Scott. And I said, hey, this is Jean. She's director of product management. And she's with other VPs that are like, yo, dude, you just have, you botched that. I'm like, no, you didn't. And then they did. And then I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt, the punishment was I felt horrible for like 24 hours, right? So then she was great. She was gracious about it. Yeah. So, but now it looked like Senior VP Studios or
SVP,
USA Studios?
Yeah, US Studios.
US Studios.
SVP US Studios.
We don't do much of an intro, but I will say that.
Go ahead.
All right, everybody. Quick disclaimer so we don't get sued by the Federal Trade Commission. So this episode is sponsored by IGT. We're grateful for them for that. Wanted to clarify so everybody knows, and I hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to MaxBet Podcast. We're here today with Jean Venneman, Senior Vice President of Studios for the USA at IGT, the Big Blue, right down the road. We're having a fun one. I feel wheelie fortunate. Is that too punny? Is that too much? We're talking about Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune next year is turning 30. Some big plans, and Jean, you've been a big part of that journey for Wheel of Fortune. So thanks for joining us and having some fun with us on the show today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
And so I feel like first things first, like it's been this journey. I feel like anyone working in the business today probably doesn't remember a time without Wheel of Fortune, right? So how did it all start? Like, is there an origin story? Is there a fun, like somebody's watching NBC one night going, I want that game on my floor? Or how did this come to be?
Yeah, there is a great story because, Wheel of Fortune was the first in so many different ways. Taking us way, 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 way back to like 1995.
Wow, yeah.
And I know that, people watching may not even have been born yet, but
Yeah, exactly.
but that's when we first started talking to Sony.
Yeah, wow.
Our chairman had been introduced to somebody at a charity dinner that was good friends with the president. There had never been a brand in the industry before. All of the games out there were like pokers and steppers, and that was kind of it. There wasn't even video yet. They came up with the concept of, hey, why don't you do a themed Wheel of Fortune game? We started talking to Sony, who owns the brand, and they were understandably concerned because they were saying, well, this is a family show and that's gambling, and are we sure we want to really be involved with that? We, piece by piece, kind of talked them through how we can structure it as more of a game than a gambling experience. And we wanted to kind of push the envelope. One fun fact, the very first Wheel of Fortune wasn't the Wheel of Fortune you're probably thinking of with the spinning wheel.
Right.
It was actually a video. It was in a video cabinet, and I give Anthony Bearlocker, I want to give him a shout out because he was really the one in charge of this. And it had a partial wheel, and you solved a puzzle. And it was the first of its kind. It was the first true persistence game that we had ever done.
Oh, interesting.
So, and it went out to mild success.
Yeah.
It was pretty far out there relative to what was going on in the market. So it found an audience, but not a giant audience, to be honest. And then we had the opportunity to get patent portfolio for the wheel. And then we thought, okay, now we can really do something here with this license. So then we went back to Sony. They saw that, they didn't get a lot of negative backlash because they had
ratings
partnered
didn't go
with
down
us.
or anything.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Right. There wasn't mass exodus of watchers or whatever. So then we said, now we can do something that's really true to the show because we've got this physical spinning wheel that we can put on top of the game. They asked me to project manage that very first Wheel of Fortune with the wheel. This was June of '96, and they wanted it to show at G2E in September.
Yeah, that's...
So that is a very
ambitious.
short development
Yeah,
period for a product that we were going to do new things all over the place. New thing number one, spinning the wheel. We didn't know how to do that. Our first version, we had a string, and we were like pulling the string, saying, this is what's going to happen.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes. Then we went to our second prototype, I think, had a windshield wiper motor from a Volvo, and we stuck that on the back. And we were like, okay, now we're getting it to actually spin.
At least I get my arm arrest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We didn't have, that technology didn't exist. The other thing that didn't exist was sound. All of our sounds to that point were just mechanically generated.
Just an actual bell.
The concept of the Wheel of Fortune
Right.
didn't exist in a game. We had to hire a sound engineer and put new speaker system in the game.
Wow.
So that was another element that just had never been done before. To put the accessories on the game, all the machines out there were basically plain Jane machines with sign packages.
Right.
The decorative element of a casino at that point was just signage, but all the machines looked pretty uniform.
Right.
So putting what we called the antlers on it and the Pope's hat, which is where we had the sound,
Pope's hat,
all
nice.
of that, all of that was brand new to the industry. So
Interesting.
we really pushed a lot of bounds, and we did it. We were able to get it to G2E, and I remember unveiling it at the show, and that was an amazing moment. And then it went out in December. I remember it went out at the Mirage,
Okay,
and
yeah.
there was a bank of 6, and we were all watching, and players would get the Wheel of Fortune wheel, and they wouldn't know what to do.
Oh.
Again, players being prompted to do something in a bonus round wasn't familiar to them.
Unbelievable, yeah.
They were just used to spin and stop, or pick my cards.
Yeah, right.
But the wheel, the button was blinking, the machine is making all the noise, and they're like, "What's happening?" And we're like,
on?
"Press the button."
Yeah.
in the background.
Said that. Yeah, exactly.
And we also we had pretty modest expectations for it. We're like,
Sure.
"Well, we hope it does well. If we get a few hundred out, we might be happy." And then it just blew up. It absolutely blew up.
It's an icon of a game.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah.
So when you said you had the IP for the wheels, was it the idea that just having it wasn't maybe worth inventing if you couldn't try to protect it, or was it another manufacturer had wheel-style games?
Yeah, there was IP in
I see.
existence,
Interesting.
and there was a company that had created a game
With
that had a
wheels.
spinning wheel.
Understood. Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
we were able to secure the rights to the various patents that they had
Got it. Okay.
in order to
do this.
Yeah, in order to have the spinning wheel.
Interesting. I was going to say because it's
Yeah.
interesting that they had that because it's like Wheel of Fortune seems like such an obvious driver.
Yeah.
You go now you look at it, you go, well, wheels are everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like so, but it's funny to think the beginning. I hate to think if you're tall like we are, so it's like you're the one pulling the strings. You're like, Gene, you can reach if you don't mind, right? Somebody's got to. What a wild intro to just blaze the trail here.
How did it perform that first year when it
Amazing.
went out? Because you said a couple hundred. Did it just
Sounds
blow
like-
out of the water?
Yeah. After maybe 2 years, there was probably 20,000 in the field. I mean, it was like
Whoa.
a huge
Yeah.
number. We had created a special version for New Jersey because they have height restrictions.
Okay.
So, and I remember the progressive meter. Back then the progressive jackpot was one of the big selling points of the game.
Okay.
So in the original Wheel of Fortune, it was like the regular size, and it was, we had various jackpots because it was linked, a couple 100,000, maybe 1 million or so forth. And in New Jersey, we had to put a progressive meter on the side of the wheel that was literally this big, and to get it short enough.
Oh wow.
But you would go into a New Jersey property, and if you would look at all the walls of the property, it was entirely Wheel of Fortune.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're talking actual height restrictions,
Yes,
the machine
yes,
can only be
machines
this
could
tall.
only be a certain height in New Jersey. They had restrictions because of ceilings or whatever.
Interesting.
So we did create a custom game for there.
Yeah. How many versions of the game has there been since then?
You
Too
know-
many to count?
So,
Like-
I actually did a little
It's a lot of
research
work,
on this
yeah, exactly.
before before coming here. So I know that we did 35 different cabinets.
Wow.
Multiple themes though potentially in each cabinet.
Yeah.
And at least 12 of those cabinets had more than 1,000 units on the floor. Some of the notable ones, we did this game called Super Spin, and it was a huge,
I was gonna say, is that the massive
wheel.
one that
Yes. Yes, it was. I don't even know how many feet across
It's
it
bigger
was.
than
It
this
must-
room.
Oh
as
yeah,
perspective,
yeah. The
right?
actual
Yeah,
wheel
it's
piece was
huge,
bigger
yeah,
than this
right.
room.
Wait,
And
and
then
that
we
was
had-
on the floor?
Yeah.
Yes, and then we had machines around it.
Oh.
So when the player got the wheel, they would spin this massive wheel, and it had 9 stations, if I
Wow.
recall.
Yep.
So they would spin this massive wheel.
Like
Yeah.
playing Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
that's
And a lot of
crazy.
us would be like, we want to lay on this thing. No, we didn't personally, but it was just so big. It's like a ride almost. Like it was huge, but you couldn't miss it. Like it
Yeah.
was from a branding, merchandising perspective. It was great.
That must have performed really well for them, for casinos, to be
It
willing.
did. There was
have that kind of real estate.
the only negative with it is it took up a lot of floor space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for properties that were limited, the machine really had to perform well because it probably took over 24 positions.
Yeah.
And it was 9 positions. We've actually kind of pushed the envelope even further. We have our first Wheel of Fortune poker
Oh,
that is
interesting.
just launched.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And also an ETG version with the stadium seating with the
ETG
wheel.
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah.
can
So
see that
that's
already.
coming out this
Yeah,
year too.
stadium.
So we're continuing to expand in different areas online.
For listeners who don't know, what does ETG stand for?
Oh, sorry, ETG, electronic table games. So
Okay, got it.
IGT is one of the top three. I think it's arguable based on market, where you are. They dominate some, others, but like they make electronic tables. So a lot of times in the stadiums, like with what Jean's saying, you'll have multi-games. You'll have a roulette you can play a blackjack, a baccarat, etc. And that sounds like, which is kind of fun. I'll let you tell me. Is they're going to build in a Wheel of Fortune element, and hopefully there's a mechanical element as part of that, which means now you potentially are spinning. Think about a roulette spinning, but now it's a Wheel of Fortune wheel, and you're betting on that.
It's
Like,
a
that would
physical
be,
wheel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
But it's not massive. Like.
It's actually fairly sizable because there's a lot of players that need to see it.
Oh, okay.
I would say it's probably 8 feet by 8 feet,
Oh, wow.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so it's
And
like a big
vertical.
six kind of wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's vertical.
perfect. Yeah,
Oh,
I see what
got
you're
it.
saying,
I
yeah.
see. I
Yeah.
see.
That's
that
great.
makes sense.
See, that
Yeah.
to me is cool. Like that's now you're saying, hey, there's a market for that. Players like these types of wheels, these types of games, and they have one of the, if not the most iconic wheel game there is. Why not? Question for you. You mentioned earlier, you said, hey, the progressive was always a big draw, right? When you were talking early. And you said a couple 100,000 or $1 million. Like in 1996, a couple 100,000 is today's million, right? So this idea of the life-changing jackpot, I don't know if it was always wide area progressive as we talked, but was that, sounds like from day one, was that part of the draw to say if we're going to do this brand, we're going to drive this new agenda, we should make it so that somebody wins and it's like their life is different?
Yeah, that's one of the selling features, I think. We had Megabucks already.
Right.
That was one of our most popular products, really, because, again, there wasn't a lot of entertainment and bonusing on the games at the time. It was spin and stop and see what you won.
Sure.
So giving them a jackpot that was 5 million, $1 million, 5 million, whatever it might have been at the time, is life-changing.
For sure.
It's funny, I heard stories, a couple instances where when you win the progressive, you don't spin the wheel. You just win the progressive.
like
There were players
disappointing.
that were disappointed. They said,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
okay, but do I get to spin the wheel?
Yeah.
Thanks for the $5 million. If I could just spin this thing, it would be great. Yeah.
Oh, but you just won $1 million.
you care.
Congratulations.
When it comes to like the marketing of the games, that has to be pretty fun. You've had like Pat and Vanna, like how involved have they been in it? Were they involved from the very start, or was it after like it started picking up speed that?
No, actually,
bring them in?
Vanna in particular has been involved all along. I remember the New Jersey version I mentioned to you, which was probably 1997. She went with us to the launch of the game in New Jersey. She's fantastic.
To stand and present the game, or to just sit
Yeah.
with you in the back
Yeah.
and watch and see if they hit the button? Like, was she doing both? Or
A little
Was she
bit of
telling
both.
them to
Instead of-
push
yeah.
the button?
I've
Yeah.
heard the stories that she would love to go on the floor and just surprise players, like stand behind them. And if they get the wheel, then she might say, good luck, or something. And they would be
funny.
like,
it's in
what's
stereo.
happening here?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So she's been an amazing partner. Yeah.
What's like one of the most notable campaigns that you guys have done for one of these launches?
Well, we're for our 30th year, which is next year, we're planning a lot.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
that might be eventually, what is our most notable, just to
Sure.
be able to celebrate
Yeah.
the whole history of the brand. Again, for a game to be so successful for so long in the industry is
Unreal.
very
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year we're launching, I think, 5 different
Wheels.
cabinet styles, 5 different games.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mentioned the poker and the ETG.
Yep.
We also have WAF Trio, which is a 3-seater that has a
The
physical
big-
wheel
Yeah.
as well.
Is that out now?
It
I started
is.
seeing those larger. It's kind of.
It's designed to go on a wall,
Right.
ideally,
Okay.
and it's number 1 on
Is it?
2 different Eilers
Ooh.
lists right now. So
Might have a good
so we're
award
very
show next
excited
time.
about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, WAF Trio. So we're really putting a lot into the market this year.
Mm-hmm.
So next year is the player celebration year. We're going to do a lot of marketing around the 30th year and have all sorts of player activities and events. Bring them in on the celebration because without the players, we don't have a
Game doesn't
successful
last.
game.
Right.
So let's celebrate all those players who have been supportive of the brand.
Over 30 years with all of the different versions, obviously keeping up with like player preferences and whatnot, was there ever a point where you guys were like, well, it's been a good run, we need to like transition out, or has it always just been a staple and killing it the whole time?
The market seems to ebb and flow with brands. There are certain years where there's tons of brands in the market, and then other years where, the companies sort of get away from that and kind of do their homegrown stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Wheel of Fortune's just its own thing, and it's always been there, and it's always done well. So I don't think we ever wavered. I don't think we ever said, okay, this was fun, but we should probably wrap it up now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's ever happened.
So just as a gambler myself and trying to envision this, can you walk me through the poker variety? Like, it makes sense as a slot, as an ETG, I can picture. I probably don't even need you to explain it to me. But poker, I'm like, how are you going to do that? Like, what's the How do you catch me on the wheel side of poker? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing to make it wheel?
So, you know how poker players tend to be very loyal to
Yeah.
kind of a classic game.
Typically yours, but yeah, they're double. Yeah, they're all IGT games as it is.
We
Yeah,
do
exactly.
know a little bit about poker.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's true. You know, it is hard to get poker players to move off of their double bonus
That's
or whatever
Triple
it
double,
is.
whichever version you
Yeah,
play,
whatever it is that's their favorite.
Yep.
We're actually it's here in Vegas, and we're actually seeing some pretty decent performance because we knew this was a little bit more of a risk to get poker players to play something that had.
Sure.
But you know, side bets. Yeah, with the poker game, you can fill in the puzzle while you're playing your poker hands.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I think I think to your point about you having the poker, if anyone's going to do it, it's you guys. Because when I play video poker, and my former host Lando was a video poker nut, so I played a lot with him. We would only play triple double usually, double double, right? So the brands that IGT has in poker, I don't think it's disputable. Like you're the leader. So for you to add it, and again, it sounds like persistence where I'm getting a bone. I win, I get to spin the wheel and add a letter to the puzzle. Eventually I'll win the puzzle. Or if there was some mechanism similar to like a super times pay where the wheel comes outside, like that to me is a believable step a player would take.
Yeah.
Because it's already the game I like. Or if it's in a multi-game, you go, here's a game I like. I'll try this one. Because same people, right? If you just said, hey, wipe all that out, new company come in, let's do it, probably not going to work. So that's why I was like, oh, this is a bold swing, I think, even though if anyone's going to do it, you guys are the ones to make that swing. So.
And fingers crossed we get those players that want to come back and
Yeah.
play again and again and again like they do some of their other favorite games.
For sure.
Pokers tend to stay on the floor a very long time.
Do you have any good behind the scenes stories?
You know, it was fun in the early days to actually go to see the show
Yeah.
and go to their offices there.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say is, you know, when you see game shows or any show on TV, it looks so big and grand.
So I was going to ask you. Yeah.
It was a tiny soundstage, like tiny.
Yeah.
And like probably a third of what you would expect it to be. It just looks so big and grand on television, but the reality is it's a pretty intimate little setting. At least that was back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like today.
I did always wonder that because you'd watch the show and, you know, you got Pat Sajak up with the players and then Vanna White over at the board. And it looks like it's a mile away, right? The board appears super far and you go, but it can't be that far because we're just talking. There just seem to be, it's not like he's yelling at her. Hey, man, it's just, so it's like, I always wondered if that was just the magic of television to make it look big or if it was
Yes.
actually, you know, it was actually just a small room that, you know, good camera angles or whatever. Have you ever gotten to be on the show? Or did they ever invite you and you maybe said yes or
Absolutely
no?
not.
No?
I
Would
was
you?
never
Like if
part
they
of
said,
the
hey,
deal. I don't
Gene,
think so.
30 years, let's
Yeah,
do
I
it?
don't
No?
think so. I wouldn't.
There's no upside
I
for you.
enjoy watching from the back, but yeah, I don't know if I would want to be on the show.
Are you good at home solver? Or then you're just like,
Yes,
yeah,
you know,
okay,
because
got it.
again, when there's no pressure on
Sure,
you,
just
sure,
you and-
you're like, no,
yeah.
always better than the contestant.
right,
You're like,
yeah.
why aren't you saying it?
Well, that's
Yeah,
right.
because there's
Can't you know? It's motorcycle handlebar. Like, what? That's not a thing. I will put you on the spot, though, because maybe I'm the only one who thinks this way. Do you have letters? Like, go to, I don't know if they're lucky letters, right? But I always think of in final, you get to find the wheel, like the last round, the bonus round, and they give you, right, the RSTLNE, and so you get the famous letters. There's so many other letters to pick. Like, how do you know? And I always find the guys guys and girls that win, pick a lot of random letters. They go for a U and a J. I'm like, do you have a lucky letter? Like, what were you putting in your mix?
when you play Wordle or
Sure,
something,
sure.
I always pick like one of my first starter words was always like steam.
Okay.
Or, you know, because I feel like ST is
Yeah.
always a common
Yeah.
one. EA is good.
Yep.
M is not bad.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
one. I don't know why.
I clearly overthink that, but
I don't think I've ever thought of that in my life.
well, no one
And
expects.
I don't
Yeah.
think I would have, if I got up there, I would probably just guess like the letters of my name and go
It's your own. Take an H, an I.
I,
Yeah, exactly.
L, will L work
Y,
again?
R's,
Yeah.
you already have L. Are you having to modernize like your approach to the brand at all, or is like, hey, the brand's iconic enough, and we're just doing form factor changes or thinking about this as we would any other slot innovation, and just keeping true to the brand? Or how does that interplay as you?
Well, we
turn
definitely,
30?
you know, as far as like keeping up with gaming slot trends,
Yeah.
we would want to integrate those into current versions.
Sure.
Pot games are really
Yep.
popular right now, so like the Wheel of Fortune Trio has a couple of pots in it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Um,
How long was it after that you tried a new brand? Like, because you guys said we're blazing the trail. There was no brands. We did a brand. And then we were like, well, this makes a ton of sense. Let's jump into another, because IGT is kind of known as the leader in branded games.
Yeah, so then our second brand was Jeopardy.
Oh, interesting.
So, you know,
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune was on
okay.
at 7 p.m. always. Jeopardy was
7:30?
7:30.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And it was also with Sony.
Yep.
And so,
Keep it
that
rolling,
was sort
yeah.
of the obvious next one.
Yeah.
Sony was happy with our partnership, so they were like, hey,
Yeah.
what about Jeopardy? And
Yeah.
again, Jeopardy was a super successful show,
yeah.
very well known. It didn't have the legs or, you know, the long-term success, but we did do a few Jeopardy games that were really, really popular, did well. And then the third brand is kind of notable because there's a funny backstory to it. Elvis was our third
interesting.
brand.
Oh.
And
What a third swing.
Okay.
Went from 7 to 7:30
shows
to like
to-
the king of rock and roll. Like, all right.
so we were working with the estate to put together this amazing game, and we were going to have all these different songs that would play. And I think you would, if I remember right, you would spin the wheel and the slices had different songs on it. We were pretty far along in the development, and I remember then the estate came back to us and said, "That's great that you got all the rights to all these songs." And
Oh,
we were
no.
Well, aren't
what
you
rights?
giving us the rights? Oh.
What do you
I
mean?
didn't even think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh no, you need to go and get the sync and the master rights for all of these songs."
Oh, wow.
And we, all of our eyes were like this big, and we
Whoops.
were like, okay. There were 4 or 5 people that were working on running around trying to get all these rights now.
Yeah.
And not everybody, again, we were calling him saying, "Hey, we want to use this song on a slot machine." And that was new. That was something. And again, we had 16 songs, and there were maybe a master and a sync for each. And in some cases, the rights had gone to like children. So there were like 4 children you'd need to contact.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember how
yeah.
many contracts we ended up doing, but it was something like 56 contracts or something we had to create to get all the songs that we had no idea. So that was our early learnings.
One of the things I love about that story is at no point did she say, so we thought about just going to 8 songs.
Yeah.
Doing half the like, no, we already made it 16.
Yeah.
We're going to get them all. That's great.
We wanted all the cool songs.
The whole anthology.
Do you guys still have Elvis games?
We had that. Yeah, we haven't had that brand for a little bit. I think that the industry is again in a little bit of a quieter with the brands. From our perspective, Wheel of Fortune, of course.
Sure.
Whitney, and
yeah.
Whitney's also doing really well.
Yeah.
And Jumanji is also been a really great success for us. Yeah.
Do you guys, you probably can't tell us what you have coming out, but do you guys have anything in the pipeline for G2E that you're like super excited about?
Maybe.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Her voice went up. That's a yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're aware that we need to definitely stop by and see.
Oh, for
and see
sure.
what's coming out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super fun. Well, do you gamble at all yourself? Do you play at
A
all?
little bit, yeah.
All right. Do
Sure.
you have any good stories?
Did you
for
ever get to
any big
gamble on Wheel of
wins?
Fortune and win
Gosh.
some money?
Did
Or?
you ever win big? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we weren't able to win.
Sure.
We could play as long as
That
we
makes
didn't win.
sense. Yeah, okay.
Take away
that
that
wouldn't be
last
very
ace,
good
yeah.
PR.
Yeah, that's not a great look.
What I will say is my style, and I think it's the style a lot of people have, I just want to go have fun.
Yeah,
And if
I
I feel like I've been super entertained, feel like I'm seeing lots of different bonuses and, things are happening and surprising me and I'm entertained and I can keep my bankroll going for a while, then I'm happy.
So listen, over the years, right, almost 30-year history, games that are life-changing jackpots, $1 million prizes, $500,000 prize. Do you have a sense of like how many lives you've changed? Like, how many millionaires have you made? How much money has this thing paid out? I'm assuming that's pretty big numbers.
Yeah, over the years, and this is a staggering statistic, we have paid out more than $3.6 billion.
Jeez.
Wow.
We've made over 1,200 millionaires.
1,200. So yeah, 1,200 people are millionaires as a result of playing Wheel of Fortune.
Millionaires or more.
That is
Wow.
that is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, so it's definitely changed lives.
All because of the Volvo motor on the back of the
Oh,
wheel.
because Jean was pulling the string.
1996.
That's right. She was whipping that wheel around on the trade show floor for millionaires. And then that doesn't even include, like, not to hate on the stats, but like, think about all the people that are half millionaires,
Right.
Like,
A
so
lot
it's
of couple
1,200 people that are,
100,000 here.
yeah, that's right. That are,
Yeah.
there's a lot of,
The total
newcomers,
payout is
100%.
probably
yeah, it's unreal.
insane.
We're excited. Hopefully we can be part of these 30th birthday celebrations we're not talking about yet, but I think it'd be fun. We calling out? We can call out. Who can we talk to next? You know a lot of interesting people.
I would love to see Nick Kinn on the show
Yeah, Nick, the head of gaming, IGT.
Okay.
because he knows games.
I'm sure. Yeah,
He
Does
really does. He's a serious player himself.
I respect that. I feel like I only know Nick casually. Like I met him, I think at like an event, as you do. Hey, yeah, nice to meet you. Probably wouldn't know me from anybody, right? But like you always wonder at the top, does he gamble? Does she gamble? Right? And in this business, like there's just an extra level of street cred, so to speak, if you actually play the games you make. And so that's awesome to hear. So I'd love to. I mean, that's a great call. And hopefully, Nick, if you're listening, let's do it. Thanks for that shout out. And more importantly, thanks for coming by. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Fun to chop it up on the wheel. And happy 30th almost to Wheel of Fortune.
Be on the lookout for whatever they put out at G2E.
Stay tuned.
Next year's going to be a big one.
That's it. Right on.
Well,
Cheers.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Done. That was great.
What an episode. Jean Venneman, legend of the business. was always fun seeing her.
Yeah, that was great. And I love that she's so tall.
She is
That
tall. Yeah,
makes
we
me
had.
feel, just looking into someone's eyes directly. It's so liberating. It's so comforting.
I get that. Yeah, as my side of that 6'6", it's very strange at first, like because maybe it's like for tall women it's the same. There's not as many people, right? But I always think usually if you're friends enough with them, that you can throw a hug on them. That's always nice because you don't have to feel like a giant. And then looking them in the eye, it takes a second to get used to. They're like, this is actually way better.
I always think you're getting such a better angle of me than when people have to like.
Oh
look up.
yeah. You're like,
I'm
I don't
like,
know what
this
you're
is
saying.
probably not great for you.
Well,
Sorry.
Speaking of height challenge, have you seen? And I guess it probably might not apply to you since you're tall, but like there's this whole internet thing where the women are like setting their cameras at where their husband's eye line would be, and then like recording a video of themselves like talking, and then looking at the video going, is that what he sees? This is what he sees of me. Why did he marry me? Like they're having all these like over the top reactions. Why do I spend time in the mirror? They're looking
I'm
up.
still very short in comparison to my person, so
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't need to look at what that angle looks like.
Well, I met him, and so he was great. That's another look in the eye. So that
Yeah.
was like, again, it takes a second. We didn't hug on our first meet, but it was like, hey, what's up? And it was just like, bang. Like, there's an easy conversation because you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, you married tall. Yeah, congratulations.
We did it for the hopes of G1 babies.
Did it for the genetics. That's how we did it, yeah.
We needed to pass on the line.
Love who needs it. We're going DNA only. That's good. What do you got for us today? What kind of fun thing should we dive into?
What is some really bad casino advice? Like someone, it's their first time going.
Like you want to mess with your
And
buddy.
or it could just be what you overhear someone else saying, like, that doesn't sound right. Always hit on 17.
Yeah.
If you feel lucky.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Very
it's
bad
interesting.
advice.
Truly bad advice. If you just don't like somebody, like, and you're talking about table games,
Yeah.
you'd be like, always split tens, right? Because A, it's a bad move. Like you're statistically, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And then B, you will immediately be the enemy of everyone at the table. So if you just
Yeah.
don't like them, it's like that person that you said that is probably gonna get punched. Because especially if you're playing more than like $5 a hand, people are like, this is annoying. Like you could have just won,
Yeah.
right? But that's the first one that comes to mind. You want to volley this? Like what would yours be? What do you have?
You only lose if you leave.
I think mathematically it's the opposite. And then when you talk about things you overhear, so like on the airplanes, I get this all the time. People are like, hey, is it the end games are luckier, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, yeah, just only play the end game.
Yeah.
Like, just because why not? That's not real advice, but if it makes you happy.
What does it mean to stand on 12? This is outside of this. What does it mean?
Stand on 12?
Yeah. What does that mean?
This is like the great blackjack debate. So stand in blackjack just means you stop taking cards, right? So you hit or stay or stand is like similar. But you get your cards. You're either going to hit.
Oh, okay. It just means stay.
Yeah, stay.
Okay.
And so but 12, so it's funny because you mentioned that one. Like that is the most coin flip situation. Because especially if you're like a 12 against a presumed 12 or 12 against a 3, there's people that will go to the grave until you hit it every time. There's people that tell you never hit it, right? So it's like this violently passionate one. People always ask me, what do you do? I said, you pick what you want to do and never deviate. Because if you try to guess, you're going to hate it. But like if you just say, look, I always hit on 12. And okay, there you go. Anything but a 10 helps you. Or I never hit on 12. And then, hey, you know what? It would have been an 8. Should have won. Fine. But like you just have to make your mind up who you are and go. But it's funny that's the one you picked out because that's such a topic at every blackjack table. What do I do at 12? Right?
Always stand on 12.
Yep.
You got to lose big to win big.
It's like me.
I think that is a lot of people's philosophies, actually.
Yeah.
Inadvertently. It might not be intentional. Yeah. You always chase the bonus. Every time. It will come. You just got to keep chasing
It will come. That much we know is true.
Probably not for you.
May not be able to afford how long it takes, right? Landon and I would always say it, and this is bad advice, right? You talk about we would start with a couple $100, and then we'd have a ride. If we go up, we might give it back, and then we still have our same couple hundred. So theoretically, we're even now, right? We've gone on this roller coaster, we had some fun, and we look at each other and go, can't go to bed with money in our pocket. Like, what? Like, you think of it outside the moment, and you go, well, yeah, you could totally do that. That'd be normal. You wake up, try again tomorrow. And it's like, no, we can't go to bed now. And then, like, and again, maybe 50-50, whatever the odds are. There were definitely nights where that last couple hundred turned into a couple thousand, and there were definitely nights where it was like, we're broke, going to sleep.
Make sure you wear all of your championship rings when you go to play slots so you can hit that screen double hard.
Just pounding the wheels off of it. I was going to say touching the screen changes the outcome. That would be bad advice to give.
Make sure you have that volume all the way up. 'Cause
See,
you want to annoy everyone else so nobody else wins.
It's
that
so
one.
funny, the volume thing. Like I never know how to feel. Some of them, the volume, there's usually 3 beeps, right? There's 1, 2, 3. And so 3 always feels like too much.
It's always too much.
one is never
Always.
exciting enough. So for me, I'm like Goldilocks in that middle. Like 2 is just enough.
I don't want to hear the pots closing from across the casino.
But I kind of like it
Big.
when I'm next to you, though. So like if you and I are playing the same game, we're just on different part of the bank. I love hearing. I don't always love hearing you win because part of me's like, damn, I could have sat there. Like I could be winning. Like it's like a little bit of jealousy.
Yeah.
But then there's also a little bit of like, all right, I'm due. Her pot just closed. My pot's going to close next. Or her, the hold and spin just triggered, and mine will trigger next, right?
I don't mind hearing the sounds. I just don't want my ears to be like annihilated with the sound.
Oh, I see.
I don't want it. There's no reason to be on full volume, but some people have this superstition that full volume means that machine's going to
Oh, is this super? I just assumed they couldn't hear
superstition.
things. I just assumed they were
Straight
like
up.
maybe
Full
older,
volume.
no ear working.
Hit the screen, like your life depends on it. Yeah.
Just the picture of this player in their lucky coat with their championship rings on.
Oh, yeah.
And their volume at full height, just pounding the machine
It's more common
on
than
the
you
corner.
think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, on the end cap, 100%.
Black eye from having split tens earlier.
They-
Like we're just in a complete picture. This is a mini movie. We make
And
it
they've
short.
been there for hours.
Yeah. Oh, they live. They can't leave. Can't go to bed with money in their pockets. So they're just playing. Yeah.
But they won a free cruise, so it's okay.
What a legend. Yeah, that would be. Free cruise is the life. Free anything, right? I feel like that's where I wonder how that's changed because I feel like it used to be you get a free buffet, and maybe you still get a free buffet. The buffets are going away.
Do they still have buffets? I haven't
Less
seen
and
a
less.
buffet.
I haven't gone to a buffet in a while. It's probably why I'm losing weight, but like it's, yeah, it turns out it's probably good for your health. But like they are going away. But anyway, you get free something, free meal. And so I'm sure there's a level where you get that, but now you get less of that. And I wonder if that just people are playing because they're like, no one's stopping me. He used to stop me and give me a free room. So I go to bed. Now I got no free room.
Well, I'm guessing it depends on your player level,
for
like your
sure.
tier.
100%. I don't qualify for the free cruise is my point generally. I'm not that lucky.
But you usually can cash in a free buffet, at least historically. And they're like, the steakhouse, no.
This guy,
No.
yeah, we got tacos in the cart walking around. We'll give you 2 of those, big guy. Just
You
take it
actually
easy.
get your parking validated.
Yeah, except free soda in the machine. You're good. It's so fun.
We will actually bring you a free drink if you just play.
Yeah, exactly. If you
We're
just,
like, wait, don't I already get that?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're giving another free beer, buddy. Don't you worry. Oh, great. Yeah, well, that would be bad advice. I think if anyone followed that advice, they'd probably not have a great time.
No.
But if you follow it and you win, let us know. That'd be great. Just go in and start
Yeah.
punching machines and like sitting on the corner.
Also, if you're one of the 1,200 millionaires from IGT Wheel of Fortune, I would also like to know.
Yeah, we'll interview you. That'd be fun, actually.
Or-
Should have done that call out. Like, oh, I'm a Wheel of Fortune millionaire. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Why'd you play the game? Mm-hmm. It's not. I don't think it's the same rule for Wheel of Fortune. But one of the things that growing up in Vegas, and it's IGT related, was
First of all, do you know how you say Vegas?
how do I say Vegas?
You say it like Vaygas.
Vegas.
Nobody says.
How do you say it?
Vegas with a like an E, but you have like a long A. Anyway, keep going.
Things you learn, I guess, growing up in Vegas. So anyway, so megabucks, right? And you knew that statistically you were likely not to win because it's a big $10 million plus jackpot, right? But the rule and you can ask anyone that grew up in Vegas, whatever, this town, Las Vegas, damn it, Sin City, they'll tell you you always bet the $3, right? Because
For what game?
For megabucks. So it's a $3 max bet.
Oh, okay.
Max bet has to be on to win. And so it was one of those rules that like you'd see people bet $2, hit the damn symbols. Don't win the 15 million because they didn't hit the third dollar. They bet $2 instead of $3, and so they won. Like, yeah, they won 10 grand or some number, but it's like
What do
jump
you
off
do?
a bridge.
What are we doing?
Yeah, like what are we doing? So like growing up here, you just knew. Like I don't know if it's good advice, but if you're gonna play $3 every time. I mean, you'd have guys going into their pocket like, oh, I only got $2, and put $1 in just to make the last bet so you could try to win the jackpot.
Wow.
Because there were so many near misses of people that hit the symbols on non-max bets, right? And so, just like this podcast, you got to max bet that thing every time.
Love that. Great plug.
That's
Great plug.
Plug
Let's
the
end
show
it there.
on the show. Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll end it there. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We had a blast. See you next time.
All right. Bye.